Hey there, it's BoardGameDave. Today for my first ever board game review, I figured it would be apt to review the most played game in my collection, which is Splendor. This game boasts an impressive 133 plays, and I've consistently found it to be tremendously approachable and enjoyable for all sorts of players, but it's especially effective as a game that brings casual gamers and non-gamers to the table and introduces them to a brilliantly and elegantly designed modern board game. Splendor is a fairly inconspicuous game by Marc-André with art by Pascal Quidat, published back in 2014. It won many awards when it was first released, and it is currently ranked the 27th best family game on BoardGameGeek. It plays with 2 to 4 players and takes about 30 to 40 minutes to play in my experience. In it, you play as a Renaissance merchant overseeing the extraction, refinement, transport, and sale of various gems, although the theme is quite thoroughly abstracted out in the actual gameplay. What you're essentially trying to do is gain points, which you'll do in 2 ways: by acquiring cards with points printed on them and by attracting distinguished royalty to your shop. You see, this game is a race for points, and as soon as any player reaches 15 or more points, it signals that this is the last round of the game. The player with the most points at the end of the game wins. So how do we get these points? Well, on your turn you can do one of 3 things. First, you can take some gems, either 3 different gems or 2 of the same color, but only if there are 4 or more of that color gem when you go to take them. Second, you can use your gems to buy a card. The cost is printed at the bottom left, and you simply return those gems to the supply and add that card to your tableau. Third, you can reserve a card. By reserving it, you're not adding it to your display of cards, but you are ensuring that no one else can get that card, plus you can buy it by spending the normal cost on a later turn. You also get a gold token for taking this action, which can be used as a wild gem later on. And that's it. Now, you might be thinking, Dave, you said this game is all about points. Why would you bother buying cards that don't give you any points? Well, that is where the crux of this game comes into play. See, each card that you buy offers a future discount for a certain type of gem for the rest of the game. Let's say I've got 2 white gems and 4 red gems. On my turn, I could buy this card, which costs 2 white and 2 red. On my next turn, I could take a look at this card. It costs 3 red gems. Now I've got my 2 gems and my 1 card, which counts as the 3rd gem, and that lets me buy this card for just 2 red gems. Let's say on a future turn I've got a situation like this. I'm looking to buy this white card here, which costs 3 green, 2 red, and 2 black. Well, I've got 2 green cards plus my gem. I've got the red card and the red gem, and I've got 2 black cards. That allows me to buy this card, which should have cost 7 gems, for just 2 gems, and that is the crux of this game. In the board game hobby, we call what I just demonstrated engine building. You start out the game with no cards in front of you, and even the level 1 cards seem expensive. But as the game goes on and you start to get several cards in your tableau, some of those level 2 and even level 3 cards start to look more affordable. And by the middle of the game, you'll often be able to take some of those cheaper cards for free. Your engine is starting to kick into a higher gear, and there's a real sense of momentum and accomplishment as your level 1 cards let you get some level 2 cards for cheap, and those level 2 cards let you work toward the big level 3 cards. It's such a satisfying feeling, and I think it'll keep you coming back to this game. Now that I've given you an overview of how the game plays, let's quickly take a look at the 7 criteria I use for judging a game and see how Splendor rates for me personally. First, the art and components. I personally like the art on these cards, and the gems themselves are these hefty color-coded poker chips, which are just so tactilely pleasing and fun to clack around. The nobles are really well illustrated too. 9 out of 10. Second, complexity and audience. I think Marc-André did a phenomenal job of designing a game that is so easy to teach and yet has a level of depth that allows this game to be easily accessible while maintaining a sense of maturity and complexity. It's absolutely a lightweight game to be sure, but there's strategic nuance to be found in repeated plays. Games like this are perfect gateway games to get people into the hobby, and it appeals to a large audience because there's virtually no complexity barrier. You could teach this game to almost anybody. 10 out of 10. Third, thematic integration. Unfortunately, there's not much going for the game here. I suppose you are sort of holding physical gems, so that's kind of thematic. One little detail that I do find thematic is the way that the level 1 cards show the extraction of the gems, while the level 2 and level 3 cards show the refinement, transportation, and selling of the gems. I think that's pretty thematic, but that's mainly just more credit to the artwork. I give it a 3.5 out of 10 for thematic integration. Fourth, intuitive mechanics. big points for the game here. The rules are simple and intuitive and easy to remember, besides the whole 2 of the same color, 4 or more in the stack rule. Besides that, everything just makes sense, and it's extremely easy to grasp the concepts, even for someone who doesn't play a lot of board games. 9.5 out of 10. Fifth, replayability. There isn't a lot of replayability baked into this game besides the nobles being different each time you play. Beyond that, the replayability really lies in who you're playing with. As your opponents try different strategies each game, you'll find yourself approaching the game differently as well. And if you're playing this game consistently, you'll find that the game starts to take on a different feel as players around the table start to get better at the game. I've obviously played the game many times, however, with almost no variable setup, I have to give replayability a 7 out of 10. Sixth, the length and fun factor. I think the length is absolutely perfect for a lightweight game like this. You can easily play a game in 30 minutes, so the game doesn't outstay its welcome. Plus, because of the race to 15 points, the game really ramps up to the finish, so you're absolutely engaged the whole time. Player turns are short and there's very little downtime between turns. As for the fun factor, the game is so satisfying as you start to build this awesome engine, and the player interaction and tension that starts to build as you look around the board and see that other players are vying for the same nobles or the same big point cards is so tantalizing and so angst-inducing in the best way. 9 out of 10. And finally, the cost versus value quotient. You can get Splendor right now for around $30, and if this seems like the type of game you'd be into, it doesn't get much better than that. Like I said, my copy has been played 133 times, which means that each play only costs 20 cents. That's a solid investment in my opinion. It's a game I'll always be happy to play that has great components and is very affordable. Splendor gets a 10 out of 10 for value. And there you have it. I'm gonna round up those scores to give Splendor a personal rating of 8.5 out of 10. While I personally prefer heavier Euro-style games, Splendor has a special place in my heart for how much this game has meant to my family. At the beginning of the COVID pandemic, my sister was living with my parents and I taught them all Splendor. My dad and sister immediately took to the game and I ended up letting them borrow it for a while. Before long, they were playing Splendor 3 times a day and eventually bought their own copy. Right now, they've played almost 200 games just one-on-one, and they're insanely evenly matched at 98 to 97 wins and 1 tied game. It makes me so happy to know that this game provided the 2 of them with so much time together doing something that they both enjoy, and that's priceless to me. By the way, I should mention that there's an expansion for Splendor out there called Cities of Splendor. For as much as my family loves this game, we hardly ever use the expansion, so take that for what it's worth. But that's Splendor, everybody. Thanks for making it through my first board game review. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And if you've played Splendor before, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. In the meantime, have a great week, take care, and happy gaming. Bye. Transportation and selling of the gems. What's shaking? Oh, Stella, stop. Go away. Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.